Glassdoor hires are 30% more likely to stay with your company longer. And Glassdoor can help you find that perfect candidate in half the resumes. Go to glassdoor.com/hire. Glassdoor. Find the right fit for your business.
Split decision from a jury in Lansing, Michigan, in the case of a former Michigan State University dean's handling of the Larry Nassar sex abuse case.
A 12-member jury rules that 71-year-old William Strample, the former MSU dean of osteopathic medicine, is guilty of misconduct in office, a 5-year felony, and 2 misdemeanor counts of neglect in his handling of complaints of now imprisoned sex predator Larry Nassar. The jury, however, finds that Strample is not guilty of a much more serious criminal sexual misconduct charge for accusations that he used his power to sexually harass female students, accusations that Strample denies. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The Justice Department filing federal hate crime charges against a Louisiana man in connection with 3 fires that destroyed African-American churches earlier this year. 21-year-old Holden Matthews, the son of a local sheriff's deputy, already faced state charges in the church burnings. He's pleaded not guilty in that state case. No decision yet from the World Health Organization on whether to declare a global health emergency over an Ebola outbreak.
The latest outbreak in Africa of the deadly contagious Ebola disease has now crossed the border from the Democratic Republic of Congo to Uganda. A 5-year-old boy who had come from Congo dying there today. There's been nearly 2,000 deaths from Ebola since the first cases were declared last fall. The deadly disease was in fact discovered in Congo in 1976. This is the second most dangerous outbreak since 2014 in Western Africa. That instance spread to 10 countries, including the U.S., killing over 11,300 people.
Fox's Greg Palcott. In this latest outbreak, an experimental vaccine is being used. An hour to the close on Wall Street, stocks remain lower. The Dow's down about 50 points. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news for the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. The Republican state senator who is challenging Republican Congressman Steve King's bid for re-election is giving up a powerful legislative chairmanship to devote more time to the Northwest Iowa congressional race. OK. Henderson with more on this report.
Republican Randy Feenstra of Hull has been chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee since 2017. In a written statement, Feenstra cited the panel's work since Republicans took control of the Iowa Senate 3 years ago, most notably the 2018 bill that cut state income taxes. Feenstra said he had worked productively with other Republicans in the state house. Feenstra has sought to contrast his legislative record with King's. In January, Republican leaders in the U.S. House removed King from congressional committees to signal the GOP won't tolerate white supremacy. King has said his comments have been taken out of context. He's been lobbying to be reassigned to House committees. Radio Iowa, I'm OK. Henderson.
King faces Feenstra and 2 other Republican challengers in next year's primary in Iowa's 4th congressional district. Yesterday, CNN and Bloomberg Politics reported that King asked but was not allowed to fly to Iowa with President Trump on Air Force One. Trump, while speaking at an Iowa GOP fundraiser last night, acknowledged several elected officials and party leaders in the audience, but had no mention of King. Study shows Iowa leads the nation in the amount of human and animal waste it produces. Christopher Jones is a scientist at the University of Iowa. His study shows that the state of 3.2 million people and total livestock population of nearly 110 million produces as much manure as a human population of 168 million. His study indicates pigs are responsible for driving the state to the top of the rankings. Jones writes in a blog on the university's website that Iowa is home to at least 23 million pigs. In another study, Jones found that growth of the state's livestock population has led to a doubling of nitrate levels in 2 western watersheds near the largest concentrations of pigs and cattle. A dairy farm in Northwest Iowa is holding an open house today to show off a unique series of robots that keep the operation running smoothly. Scott Schrader is the executive director of the Western Iowa Dairy Alliance and says the farm of John and Sharon Vanderwall near Sioux Center is one of the most technologically advanced in the state.
Rather than seeing a milking parlor, you will see 4 robots in the pen with the cows. The cows can go in up to 7 times each day. They'll walk into the pen with the robot, and a gate will shut so no other cows can interrupt the cow being milked. And the milking unit will attach itself to the cow, milk the cow.
Long gone is the three-legged stool and metal bucket as the robots work quickly to do their job in the pen.
While the cow is in there, they also get some candy treats. That's kind of the incentive that draws the cows into the robot. And then when they are finished in about 7 minutes, the machine will detach and the cows are let out and the next one is ready to come in. Once they've been trained, they come in on their own. You don't ever have to try and force them to go in. They freely are able to go into the robot.
Besides the robotic milking system, Schrader says the Vanderwalls have implemented several other robotic advances.
They also have some robotic pen scrapers, so you can see how they keep the pens clean. And they also have a robotic feed pusher to making sure that when John feeds his cows, that the feed is fresh and it kind of gets rotated, so they always have feed and water.
And Schrader says the Vanderwalls started using the robotic method in 2017. The farm has about 250 cows. It is one of the smaller dairy farms in that area. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has lowered its estimate of this year's corn crop to its lowest in 4 years, saying wet weather has delayed planting, reduced acres planted, and the expected per acre yield. The expected production was cut in the monthly report released yesterday by 1.4 billion bushels to 13.7 billion, the lowest since 2015. While weather problems have also slowed soybean planting, the USDA did not change estimates since farmers have several more weeks to plant. The USDA will release a report on June 28th to provide updated farmer surveys more accurately reflecting the number of acres farmers planted. The USDA report also says disputes with China and other nations have reduced corn exports for the current year crop by 100 million bushels and soybean exports by 75 million bushels. And the son of an Iowa civil rights attorney in the midst of a high-profile civil trial against a former governor has been arrested in the courtroom where his mother's trial is taking place. Polk County Sheriff's records say 50-year-old James Conlon of West Des Moines was arrested during a break in the proceedings on Monday and charged with interference with official acts. He was booked into the county jail and released within an hour. Conlon told courthouse officials he was testing the air after his mother complained it was making her ill. Roxanne Conlon blames construction in the courthouse. Court officials refused her earlier request to move the trial. Conlon and her son did not respond to a message from the Associated Press, but she tells the Des Moines Register she's furious that he was arrested. She's representing former Iowa Workers' Compensation Commissioner Chris Godfrey, his discrimination lawsuit against former Governor Terry Branstad and the state. That's a look at local news this hour. From the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Lots of sunshine outside this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 68. North winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 44. 71 tomorrow, bright sunshine expected. Chance for scattered thunderstorms Friday and Saturday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 67.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
Need to get somewhere in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County this summer? Midas will take you there. Live in Manson and need a ride to the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Live in Webster City and need a ride to the theater? Midas will take you there. Live in Rockwell City and need to get to the clinic? Midas will take you there. Call 800 Bus Ride. Midas, helping you get where you want to go. Your connection to Jefferson Lines.
We stand for people, progress and pride. Iowa Farm Bureau's by your side.
Farming is challenging. With agriculture in a prolonged slump, are you finding yourself stuck between falling commodity prices, high input costs, and a volatile trade market? How can you improve farm profitability? Iowa Farm Bureau's 2019 Economic Summit will address these issues and more during this one-day event. Packed with national leading experts, you'll get an in-depth look at overall farm economic prospects and discuss important issues like crop and livestock outlooks, land value trends, and alternate income sources from hemp, crop insurance, and the use of blockchain in meat production. Plus, you'll discover new ways technology can be used to improve profits on your farm. Reduce your risk and register today. Join us Friday, June 28th at the Marriott Hotel in downtown Des Moines. Pre-registration is $30 for Farm Bureau members and $150 for non-members. To register, visit iowafarmbureau.com.
Hi, I'm Jamie Brundage, owner of Historic Bruce Funeral Home. When you're planning the memorialization of your loved one, you're telling their story and sharing special memories with your family and friends. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, we're proud to help you celebrate the life of your loved one, and we're here to guide you with your selections as we help you and your family say goodbye in a way that's right for you. Our staff is committed to compassionate care and attention to detail. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. Here we are, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. A little Booker T here first, so I can deal with Minky, because it's always a full-time job for the entire town dealing with Minky. All right, here it is. Dealing with Minky on the Divine Intervention Show, and you're welcome to join the program and deal with Minky by calling 515-955-1400. That's 515-955-1500. I suppose you listened to the David Furyk SoundCloud yesterday.
Absolutely.
David was good again. I don't know why I mess around with other city councilmen for long. They don't know anything to this day.
Yeah, he gives you just enough to give you feel like you're getting an answer, and then doesn't.
No, I don't. I know there's things that
can't talk about.
Well, I can't talk about, won't talk about it. I get the same deal from the Growth Alliance.
Yeah,
and a lot of people really. But I'm okay with that.
That's good.
I'm okay with that. He is, at least if you ask him something that had actually been in the paper the day before, he can give you a complete answer.
That's his job.
That's his job,
That's right.
He doesn't sit there and look like get the deer in the headlights
like me.
No, like some of your friends though.
Well, I have a lot of friends. Well, anyway.
No, you don't. I might be the closest you have.
Well, I think we just had that discussion. The general public's perception of you is quite low, actually.
That was great. Oh, yeah. The public perception of me is that I bring it, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but you're much different in real life than you are on the air. You're angry on the air, but in real life, you're
other people say that you've been sounding a little angry. Mayor Bemrick said that a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or more. I was listening to you earlier today, and you're sounding a little angry. Well, sometimes I do.
Yeah,
I do. I try not to.
You need a Snickers.
I need one of those Snickers.
Yeah, call the supervisors. They'll probably bring you some, trying to kill you again.
Well, my problem is I read too many newspapers. Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times.
Well, yesterday,
Des Moines Register, of course.
Yesterday was a good day to get angry at a lot of things. We had a pretty good influx of political candidates in the state.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah, it seemed like everybody that was anybody was here.
Right.
And basically, they didn't say very nice things about each other.
See, what the people of Iowa are really concerned about is pride. Pride Month, gay this, gay that, transgender this. I can always make a house payment by going to the bank and say, I don't have any money to make the payment, but I'm in favor of gay rights. You understand? And hey, next month I'll be in favor of transgender rights. So I'm going to vote Democratic because that makes my house payment for me.
Doesn't work for me.
What morons?
That reminds me, I have to make my house payment. Thanks for reminding me of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
you have to make a house payment. I thought you just paid in cash.
No.
Pocket change. You have all the money in the world.
Times are tough.
You have all the money in the world.
Yeah,
that used to be a favorite phrase of you.
No, I doubt it. But anyway,
you were known for talking about your incredible wealth.
Yeah, no, that's not true. But anyway,
it's exactly true.
Let
me go back in time to our Sertoma days and the Sertoma people who were.
I'm still in Sertoma. As a matter of fact, I wanted to mention we have an event this weekend.
Right. Let's ask old Sertoma people, 955-1400. Did Minky ever imply or exply that he had, all the money in the world?
I don't want to change the subject, but of you being a former Marine ought to be real proud of this.
What's that?
We have the sole remaining Medal of Honor winner from the Marines, and the last gentleman from Iwo Jima, the Medal of Honor winner, Herschel Woody Williams, will be here on Sunday to do the dedication of the Gold Star Family Memorial out at Veterans Park at 2:00. So get there early. I think it's going to be a good crowd. We got a pretty good program with the Veterans Council. They're going to start there'll be a little bit of a prelude at about 1:45, and then Chad Graham, who is Woody's grandson, will be doing the welcoming.
Chad Graham, does he live here in town?
No, they live in West Virginia.
Virginia?
Yeah, Woody's got.
They're making a stop here.
Yeah, he dedicates all the Gold Star family. He actually has a foundation that started this a number of years ago because he always felt that the families of the fallen kind of fell to the wayside, and so he designed and created this monument, and they provide seed money. They gave us $5,000 for ours. It was about a $50,000 project, but they gave us some seed money to get it going. And we've had it up for about a year and a half, but we've been kind of waiting because Emmitsburg or Esterville, one of those E words, also developed one, and they were a little bit behind us. So we waited until, because Woody is 95 years old. He's still active, gets around, but he is quite the character. He did the coin toss last year at the Super Bowl. You may have remember that, but Mayor Matt will be out there. Mark Campbell will be there. I'm going to talk. Mary Fields, who is the Gold Star mother of Nathan Field from Gowrie, will give a short talk. And then Denny's Canto from St. Ed's. He's a retired Marine Corps sergeant. We'll give a talk, and then Woody will talk, and then we'll wrap it up. But we're also dedicating the Marine Corps monument out there at the same time. So,
really? How nice? That's really
so
nice.
We got a nice, and we're hoping to have nice weather. The weather looks good so far.
What date is this?
It's Sunday. It's Father's Day.
Oh,
2:00. 2:00. But again,
2:00 Sunday.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to try to get back.
Yeah, you don't get an opportunity to meet too many Medal of Honor winners. And like I said, Woody has been out there. He's got a couple of hospitals named after him, a VA center and everything. So he's been very active and a very good proponent for the Gold Star family. So we're honored to have him come and do our dedication on Sunday. So we invite everybody to come out for that. So that'll be fun. We did have we had some workshops Monday night before the meeting. We did, I think David talked about that a little bit, the community broadband study. I want to clarify that there is, if you don't participate, you don't have to pay. This is going to be, hopefully, we're going to partner with some people that already do this in different areas, but we're kind of a dead zone for Wi-Fi in this area. FCC has for broadband definitions, got a download speed of 25 megs per second and upload of 4. So I ran a speed test of mine at home. I have high-speed internet through a telephone carrier who will name nameless, but my high-speed internet was 6.5, and broadband is supposed to be 25. So this fiber optics network that we're looking at, we're doing a feasibility study now. I think it's going to be a great asset, not only to businesses, but also people, because we're very connected, as you know, as you sit there and update your Facebook page.
I was looking up Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot. Well, you mentioned the honor our city is about to receive, being visited by one of our last Medal of Honor recipients from the Second World War.
Yep.
And Pete Buttigieg, like a lot of young men who have served overseas, has a picture in his campaign literature of him in full battle gear, holding an automatic weapon and smiling. I wondered, and anybody, by the way, who went through SEAL training has my respect.
Yep.
And
Tough
I don't
guys.
think, tough guys, way tough.
We had them.
Go ahead and call Pete a sissy.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try that on.
We had when I was in the service in Groton, Connecticut, at the submarine base out there, we had SEALs that trained at our dive tower. And they used to go out and catch lobsters for everybody. They just they were a different breed of people.
They are a warrior class.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, in his Wikipedia page, I don't see that he trained to be a SEAL, but I'm sure that he had. But anyway, I was looking to see if he had actual combat experience. It doesn't appear that he does.
Yeah, most SEALs, if we ran into this, I kind of chuckle about it because we were traveling last year as a city delegation for the sister city states, and one of the gentlemen we were traveling with was trying to impress certain females in our group about his combat experiences and bragging about the fact that he was a SEAL. And I pulled one of the young ladies aside and I said, one thing about SEAls, they won't tell you that they're a SEAL.
No,
that's just not a bragging thing for them. So and this guy's probably blowing hot air. But anyway, we did talk about the community broadband. This is basically going to provide us with an opportunity to get extremely high-speed internet to houses and businesses, going to enable us to recruit and retain businesses. A lot of medical things are all done on internet, a lot of transactions, a lot of ordering. It's just nice to have reliable internet service. I know there's other carriers in town. There's other carriers that have, some of the surrounding communication companies have internet service. I think the college has their own internet out there, but it's basically line of sight. And this will actually be fiber optics right up to your house. The question is, are we going to provide it for everybody, and then you only pay for it if you take advantage of it? Do we offer them the option to sign up later and then have to go back in and put it into the house, or what do we have to do? Those are all things that this pre-feasibility study is going to look at. Cost will be extremely competitive. They're doing this in numerous cities throughout Iowa. It's amazing. My son lives in Galva, and they've got high-speed internet over there that's probably 5 times faster than what we have here in town.
Well, some people have been talking about that around town. I mean, Steve Peterson with the Farm Bureau, who lives on a farm.
It's better service.
In beautiful downtown Slifer, which is blinking you through it.
Yeah.
They have all this great internet service and we don't. Why is that?
Well, I think it's just the small companies just had an opportunity to upgrade, and they did it. And I think our local providers have been kind of lax. I don't think.
No, they've been raping us.
I don't. They've been charging us a lot for
a lot of money for not that much.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating.
That's called maximizing profits.
Yeah, I think.
Don't expect anybody to pat any Mediacom on the back for the internet service they provide.
I looked at this a couple of years ago, and David and I talked, and then David went to a meeting where they actually had somebody there representing the fiber optic broadband services to communities, and he got a lot of information and came back very enthused. Now, this is an expensive process. It's not cheap. They're estimating millions of dollars to put this infrastructure in. It probably would not be a municipal utility. We're hoping that we can have an outside vendor come in and actually do all the work. And I think if they show that there's a need and there's enough people interested in it, and that's what this feasibility study will do, is actually to go and survey people and tentatively sign them up. The guy that gave the presentation Monday showed, I think it was it Vinton or in one of those little towns where they actually have little dots on the map you can click, and it shows the people and their address and everything where they actually are going to start running the internet service to. This will also more than likely provide voice and may have the potential in the future of providing some kind of television streaming service too. So it's a pretty cool idea, but again, the cost effectiveness is something we have to determine. If the people in the town want it, they can sign up for it and they'll have to pay for it. If you're on a fixed income and you're not interested in it, you don't, partake in the internet, then you don't have to sign up. So it won't cost you anything.
Right.
So win-win.
That is a win-win.
Yeah. So anyway.
We definitely, and it was, Steve Peterson talked about this yesterday. If we're really trying to attract 21st century companies to our town, we have to have better internet service.
We have to have all the bells and whistles.
All of them, every single one. So what if we have a first-class fire department? So what if we have all this shovel-ready things and trails and all this? Yeah. That's all nice. That's all part of it. But if we don't have top-of-the-line internet service, we don't have it.
Yeah, and again,
they're not going to come.
You talk to Jesse Ulrich over at the school district. I mean, it's very difficult for some of these kids who don't have access to internet. And if we did provide high-speed internet and have, it available for the kids, they could get their homework done a lot easier. And
That's right.
It's just a lot easier. I can remember when we had the record store a number of years ago.
That's right. You had a record store.
Yeah, record store, bookstore. I've been broken in virtually everything.
Dealer. You've been doing the whole thing, yeah.
But anyway, I can remember sitting there with a dial-up modem and sitting there for 40 minutes.
But we thought we had something then.
Well, and actually, I was online yesterday. I was ordering some parts. I have a hot tub that the motor went out of, and our local.
I don't want to do any visuals, okay?
Okay. Well, but
thank
anyway,
you very much.
I got on the web page. It took me 45 minutes to order what I needed to order last night, and I was throwing things at my internet, and I was plugging the modem, unplugging the modem. What good does that do? I mean, it's just a frustrating thing. But
it is. And if you're frustrated in that sort of exercise, what sort of reaction are companies going to have?
Yeah. And I mean, the hospital, all of our
international companies,
electronic medical records. The hospital's dealing with the internet service. And you're right. All these, we have a lot of international companies here. And, just to communicate with the home offices, the reliability issues and the speed. A lot of data is being transferred, and it may or may not, be the timely way to do business. And if we have somebody that has broadband internet, fiber optics, that's, 10 times faster than ours, they're going to choose that over what we have here. And
Of course they are.
And it's just not reliable. It's very frustrating when you're trying to do something and you can't get
That's
it
the
done.
frustrating part. And years ago when they made Mediacom our only cable service in the state of Iowa.
You were on the board then, weren't you?
Yes, I was, and I
Ran it
fought
into the
that.
ground.
Yeah. Well, I really
Just
we
like
did.
the Fine Arts Association,
No.
they kicked you off of that too.
They kicked me off of that. No, the board I was on was dissolved. Frankly, we had no authority. Our only purpose was to gather information, and report to the council. It was a way for the mayor not to get phone calls at his house.
Yeah.
They called me at my house.
Yeah, it's called ducking responsibility.
That's what it was. Yes. Yeah. But I thought being chairman of the cable commission for 5 years was a big deal. Turned out to be not so much, and nothing was changed. By the way, nothing was changed. Good afternoon. You're on the air at AM 1400 KVFD.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Hey, I was just wondering if you could have your guests define what we mean by high-speed internet, because I understand high-speed internet, but what is big? I understand 50 meg, 20 meg, 3 meg, something like that.
Yeah. Basically, what we were told the other night, I mean, the standard in this type of thing is 1 gig, which is really fast. I mean, that's lightning fast. But with the fiber optic service, the potential for upgrade is virtually unlimited. It can go as fast as what the equipment can put out. So, I mean, they're going to gear towards 1 gig, I think, is their initial offering. And then as future technology, it's just like, we started out with 3G on the cell phones, and we're 4G, and now there's 5G. All this new upgrade and all new equipment. The fiber optics is very capable of handling any upgrades, but the 1 gigabyte is what they're looking at. And that's what Chattanooga went with about 5 or 6 years ago. That was their start, and it was just lightning fast compared to everything else. And there's certain things that you don't really need speed for, but businesses unfortunately need all the speed they can get.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, you and I, browsing Facebook, it's not that big of a deal. But
yes, it is.
Well, yeah, for you. Like in my house, when the kids come over and they're downloading movies for their kids or something, and so you got a couple of people downloading movies that just, we just don't have the speed and capable of downloading that stuff. And so this new system that they're looking at is going to be, much more advanced than what we already have. So they're talking 1 gig at least.
Now, who's doing the talking?
Well, now we have a consultant. There's about 3 different.
I mean, are we going to work hand in hand with our Frontier and Mediacom, or what are we talking about here?
And it's the amazing thing is that once these conversations start, when you start talking to these media consultants, a lot of times Frontier and Mediacom and the other providers are going to sit back and think, we got an opportunity here. Maybe we should step up the game, because we are going to be
if it benefits them, if it's a
we're
profit.
We're going to be in direct competition with them, if this system happens. And again, the key word is reliability and speed. And if they can come back and upgrade their systems, and I don't think with copper, and I'm not an engineer, I mean, Bemer could probably tell you tomorrow, he deals with this stuff all the time, but fiber optics is the way to go. And it's going to be a long-term solution to a problem that the copper system doesn't work. And I may be wrong, but I think even Mediacom runs through Frontier's copper system over at the building over there on First North. So
could be. I don't know.
Could be, yeah. But again, it's very fast. It'll make your life.
I know
a lot
they're
better.
not your friend. I was a little surprised back then, to take us back to those days. Des Moines sued, a resident of Des Moines sued Mediacom in Des Moines over a franchise fee. Now, a franchise fee was just a regressive tax that the City Council in Des Moines and the City Council in Fort Dodge just put on the bill.
Yeah.
Every month you got a Mediacom bill or a cable bill, you saw a franchise fee. Well, that was that just went into the city general fund. And of course, we never wanted to tell the citizens of Fort Dodge or Des Moines about what a franchise fee was.
Is that still on there?
I don't know. But when I was on the cable commission, we found that out and we started talking about it. And all of a sudden, the Mediacom people stopped showing up at council at our meetings. And a couple of members of the city council who were behind it fell silent.
Well, again,
they fell silent. And anyway, to finish the story, though, a resident of Des Moines sued Des Moines, the city of Des Moines, and Mediacom over that, and they won.
And they recovered some fees.
A lot of money. We never did that here in Fort Dodge for some reason.
Well, again, I think it's a great thing, and I hope it proceeds. We did hire the company to look at the pre-feasibility studies. So they'll be doing some surveys online, and I think if you have a concern or if you want to endorse it, then jump on and let them know.
Jump on it, huh?
Jump on it.
All right, Dr. Terry Minke is our guest. We'll be back.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We're going to get down today, as they say. This is some get down music here. The news is next. Then we'll be back with Dr. Terry Minke. We're going to find out about the telecom board, see what they're up to. A little surprised that these things keep hanging out there like the USMCA trade agreement. And, of course, we had presidential candidates show up in the state of Iowa and yelled about nothing. It was amazing. 233 AM 1400 KVFD.
The following message has been paid for by the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship. If you sell fruit and vegetables commercially in Iowa, the FDA's produce safety rule likely affects you. To find out if you're in compliance and to learn about training classes and resources offered by the Iowa State University Food Safety Team, visit iowasafeproduce.com. The training team is coming to a town near you soon. Follow us on social media and visit iowasafeproduce.com for location updates. This message was supported by the FDA Grant 5810 and does not necessarily represent the official views of the FDA.
Get up first thing, smoke a cigarette before lunch, after lunch. Now that I'm talking about it, I kind of feeling like I've lost about 4 hours of every day. I decided I needed to find an alternative. So I started looking, and then Juul came up. I did both for a while. Eventually I just switched over, and it's very quick.
Mimi made the switch July 2015. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Iowa hog farmers have a lot to be proud of.
Proud of the quality products we put on tables around the world.
Proud of the strides we make to protect Iowa's natural resources.
Proud of the number of Iowans we're able to employ in safe workplaces.
Proud to protect and promote animal well-being in everything we do.
Iowa pork producers are proud because they do it right. And that's something all Iowans can take pride in.
Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Iowa's pork producers work hard daily to produce safe, affordable food. Through the industry's We Care initiative, hog farmers are firmly committed to doing things right. That means keeping their pigs safe and healthy, safeguarding natural resources, protecting public health, and building strong communities. Producers fully understand the importance of pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement. It's the moral and ethical thing to do. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news for the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. The Republican state senator who is challenging Republican Congressman Steve King's bid for re-election is giving up a powerful legislative chairmanship to devote more time to the Northwest Iowa congressional race. OK. Henderson with more on this report.
Republican Randy Feenstra of Hull has been chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee since 2017. In a written statement, Feenstra cited the panel's work since Republicans took control of the Iowa Senate 3 years ago, most notably the 2018 bill that cut state income taxes. Feenstra said he had worked productively with other Republicans in the state house. Feenstra has sought to contrast his legislative record with King's. In January, Republican leaders in the U.S. House removed King from congressional committees to signal the GOP won't tolerate white supremacy. King has said his comments have been taken out of context. He's been lobbying to be reassigned to House committees. Radio Iowa, I'm OK. Henderson.
King faces Feenstra and two other Republican challengers in next year's primary in Iowa's 4th Congressional District. Yesterday, CNN and Bloomberg Politics reported that King asked but was not allowed to fly to Iowa with President Trump on Air Force One. Trump, while speaking at an Iowa GOP fundraiser last night, acknowledged several elected officials and party leaders in the audience, but had no mention of King. Study shows Iowa leads the nation in the amount of human and animal waste it produces. Christopher Jones is a scientist at the University of Iowa. His study shows that the state of 3.2 million people and total livestock population of nearly 110 million produces as much manure as a human population of 168 million. His study indicates pigs are responsible for driving the state to the top of the rankings. Jones writes in a blog on the university's website that Iowa is home to at least 23 million pigs. In another study, Jones found that growth of the state's livestock population has led to a doubling of nitrate levels in 2 western watersheds near the largest concentrations of pigs and cattle. A dairy farm in northwest Iowa is holding an open house today to show off a unique series of robots that keep the operation running smoothly. Scott Schrader is the executive director of the Western Iowa Dairy Alliance and says the farm of John and Sharon Vanderwall near Sioux Center is one of the most technologically advanced in the state.
Rather than seeing a milking parlor, you will see 4 robots in the pen with the cows. The cows can go in up to 7 times each day. They'll walk into the pen with the robot. A gate will shut so no other cows can interrupt the cow being milked. And the milking unit will attach itself to the cow, milk the cow.
Long gone is the 3-legged stool and metal bucket as the robots work quickly to do their job in the pen.
While the cow is in there, they also get some candy treats. That's kind of the incentive that draws the cows into the robot. And then when they are finished in about 7 minutes, the machine will detach and the cows are let out and the next one is ready to come in. Once they've been trained, they come in on their own. You don't ever have to try and force them to go in. They freely are able to go into the robot.
Besides the robotic milking system, Schrader says the Vanderwalls have implemented several other robotic advances.
They also have some robotic pen scrapers, so you can see how they keep the pens clean. And they also have a robotic feed pusher to making sure that when John feeds his cows, that the feed is fresh and it kind of gets rotated, so they always have feed and water.
And Schrader says the Vanderwalls started using the robotic method in 2017. The farm has about 250 cows. It is one of the smaller dairy farms in that area. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has lowered its estimate of this year's corn crop to its lowest in 4 years, saying wet weather has delayed planting, reduced acres planted, and the expected per acre yield. The expected production was cut in a monthly report released yesterday by 1.4 billion bushels to 13.7 billion, the lowest since 2015. While weather problems have also slowed soybean planting, the USDA did not change estimates since farmers have several more weeks to plant. The USDA will release a report on June 28th to provide updated farmer surveys more accurately reflecting the number of acres farmers planted. The USDA report also says disputes with China and other nations have reduced corn exports for the current year crop by 100 million bushels and soybean exports by 75 million bushels. And the son of an Iowa civil rights attorney in the midst of a high-profile civil trial against a former governor has been arrested in the courtroom where his mother's trial is taking place. Polk County Sheriff's records say 50-year-old James Conlon of West Des Moines was arrested during a break in the proceedings on Monday and charged with interference with official acts. He was booked into the county jail and released within an hour. Conlon told courthouse officials he was testing the air after his mother complained it was making her ill. Roxanne Conlon blames construction in the courthouse. Court officials refused her earlier request to move the trial. Conlon and her son did not respond to a message from the Associated Press, but she tells the Des Moines Register she's furious that he was arrested. She's representing former Iowa Workers' Compensation Commissioner Chris Godfrey, his discrimination lawsuit against former Governor Terry Branstad and the state. That's a look at local news this hour. For the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. The cat lady's son gets arrested during a trial. Wow. Anyway, KVFD weather is sunny today, high 69, overnight clear with a low of 44. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 71. On Friday, slight chance of rain, otherwise sunny with a high of 77. On Saturday, chance of a thunderstorm, mostly cloudy with a high of 81. On Sunday, it'll be sunny with a high of 79 degrees. Right now it's 67 degrees, just kind of a perfect day here in Fort Dodge, and we certainly deserve it. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Denise Johnson has died at the age of 54. Services for Denise Johnson will be held at a later date. Virginia Roberts has passed at the age of 90. Services are pending for Virginia Roberts and Wendy Dahl, 47 years old when she died. Services are pending for Wendy Dahl as well. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1650 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 242, 67 degrees at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn up 2 1/4 cents at 4.30. September up 2 at 4.38 1/4. December up 1 1/2 at 4.48 1/2. March up 3/4 at 4.56 1/4. July soybeans up 18 3/4 at 8.78. August up 18 1/2 at 8.84 3/4. September up 18 1/2 at 8.91 3/4. November up 18 1/2 at 9.05 1/2. July wheat closed up 8 1/4 cents at 5.26 1/4. Soybean meal up 5.10 a ton at 3.19.50. June live cattle down 102 at 109.65. August down 162 at 105.20. August feeders down 32 at 137.80. September down 60 cents at 138. June lean hogs down a nickel at 79.02, and July closed unchanged at 84.37. From the Alpha Media Farm Desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
The Lizard Creek Blues Society presents Blues Under the Trees, Saturday, July 27th, featuring Hamilton Loomis. The full blues lineup includes Joe and Vicky Price, the Heather Newman Band, and Malcolm Wells and the Two Timers. Gates open at 1. They lay down the blues at 2. Advanced tickets are $25. Get them now at Access Audio, Avila Bank, Hy-Vee in Fort Dodge and Humboldt, and Remy Music. Or get your tickets for $30 at the gate. Bring your lawn chairs and an appetite for great food and world-class blues. Blues Under the Trees, Saturday, July 27th. Sports Park Raceway, Fort Dodge.
Sounds like you've got the crud. Cough, fever, sinus pressure, body aches. What should you take? Which over-the-counter medicine is best? You sure don't know, but the people at Daniel Pharmacy do. The pharmacists and technicians at Daniel Pharmacy are ready to help. They drop what they're doing, ask you what you're looking for, go down the aisle with you, and help you find the best medication for your symptoms. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years at 1114 Central Avenue, downtown Fort Dodge.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, yeah, that's right. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Not sucking today, City Councilman Terry Menke, who joins us now. How are you, Councilman?
Wonderful.
All right, that is wonderful. That's terrific. It's all wonderful. We're happy. We're gay. Oh, well, maybe not that last part.
Twice. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
I don't know, unless you want to,
No, there's no announcement.
Come out right now or anything like that.
No, I'm perfectly fine. But
hey, I'm cool too.
46
I'm
years.
all right.
Same woman.
46 years,
Yep.
same woman.
Yep, 47 this year, in
right.
December.
That poor woman, huh?
Yep, poor woman. Yep, she feels sorry for me. I'm
46?
Sure. Yep. My
Wow.
brother's been married 45 years, but he's had like 10 wives. So
I was going to say, he's my man, right? What's his name again?
Lonnie.
Lonnie, my man. Yeah, he's down in Texas.
Yeah, he's down there fishing. Probably
Yeah,
today.
yeah, on a beach
Yeah.
somewhere,
Yeah.
fishing, smoking a bowl. He's my guy.
I don't think he does that. But anyway,
How do you know? He looks the part. I've seen pictures of him.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
He looks like you with a beard and long hair and,
Yeah,
a
back in the
much
days.
better attitude.
Yeah, so he didn't have to get up and go to work in the morning.
Man, that's the life. You get married 5 times and never have to work.
Yeah. Well, he just didn't pay. So anyway, you want to talk a little bit about telecom board?
I did, as a matter of fact.
There was a little agreement on Monday night, and I reviewed the agreement, and basically the state had requested a little bit of a rewrite of the agreement, and so there is some language added to the 1975 agreement way back when, but there was some of the language in there that I had a problem with, and pointed out, and I had talked to. It's kind of tough and during the summer to try to find anybody to talk to on a nice Friday afternoon.
I bet.
Yeah, so I was scrambling a little bit on Monday trying to find the answers. That in the agreement, it says under membership, 3 representatives will be selected by the Fort Dodge City Council to represent the Fort Dodge Police Department. Well, that's not quite the way that I thought it should be, because I'm not only is Steve Hergenreiter, our fire department chief on the committee, which according to this, he shouldn't be. But I thought that they needed to be with the EMS service and the fact that the dispatchers handle a lot of fire and emergency calls. And so I requested that the language be changed to represent the city of Fort Dodge rather than just the police department. Roger told me back in the day that when anybody had any kind of a fire or anything, they had to call the police department, and the police department would call the fire department. And that's where this came from. Apparently 30, 40 years ago, the communications were a little bit different. The other part that they added, which was the state request, was they created an executive committee which handles more or less the criminal justice information services, which checks background checks and things like that, criminal records. I don't know how they do that, if they're looking at employees or what they're doing with it. But on that committee is the sheriff, the chief of police, and the Webster County attorney. And my concern is if the executive committee should be composed of members of the board, most of them are, you have to have some interaction between the two. So I said, and I have nothing against Darren Driscoll. He's a great guy. I've known him for a long time. He's done some
But you're going to tear him apart right
he
here.
He was on this committee, and I didn't understand. I can understand maybe as an advisory role, but even Jim Stubbs is not a member of the telecom board anymore, but a representative of his office is, and he's not part of the board. And the same thing is the chief of police of Fort Dodge going to be on this board forever? You don't, because it could rotate because you've got different members of the police department. So I suggested that they not call it an executive committee, but call it an advisory committee. And I think that would take care of it. So we really didn't have much, other than that. I just wanted to clarify that I thought the fire department needed to be more aware. And during this, I was a little confused because they do have the E911 board and they have the telecom board. And from what I can tell, pretty much the same people are on both boards. And why they have more meetings and what they need doesn't seem to be very effective. Basically, the 911 board buys equipment. They get it from the cell phone bill from the state, and they use it to buy dispatch equipment. It's basically a surcharge, and then the telecom board runs the operations. They supervise the employees and do the budget approval. So I suggested that maybe they look in the future consolidating the two. I don't know if they are going to be able to do that from state law regulations because they've got different funding sources. But, it seems to me like when you got the same people doing the same thing or similar things for the same purpose, that it would be better to consolidate it. So it's my understanding that the board will be looking at this. The other cities, I think there's 12 different cities in the Webster County that have to vote on this, and plus the supervisors. The supervisors will also probably be looking at this agreement because it says in here the membership should be from the sheriff's department, and it's possible that they may feel that there's somebody other than the sheriff's department that should be represented on the dispatch board, so that language may be changed on the county level too, but that's their decision, not mine.
Right.
So I guess things are moving forward. I don't know enough about dispatch to really talk about it that much, but it does sound like the agreement with IXP is out there and will be voted on relatively soon. So I'm sure we're going to hear more about that in the next few weeks. So
yes, you are.
As far as I know, nobody's.
I'm really surprised this has taken so long. I know government moves slowly, the Arctic phase and all that.
Yeah.
But wow.
This is, and again, there was a lot of confusion. I think the direction of the board was maybe not going. I don't think the communication was there. And I think, if there were problems, they weren't being communicated. And I think that's kind of where the breakdown appeared. So there was quite a outpouring of concern. Is that a polite way of saying that?
That's, polite,
okay, yeah.
That's a very uncharacteristic of you, by the way.
Yeah. But anyway, that's going. So anyway, we did get the asbestos removal grant. I'm sure you saw that, the $500,000 to help with the removal of the Wakanza Annex, and that's the big tan building on First Avenue South. We did put in the GEO bond this year, a placeholder of, I think, was $3 million to tear that building down. Now we got $500,000 to get the asbestos out. You may recall we also bought the building right across from the Warden, right kitty corner from City Hall, where the sculpture is going to go, which has been a little controversial too. But the demolition.
You could stub your toe in Fort Dodge and it would be controversial.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know it. it's a great thing about social media is that negativity is just running rampant, and it's very uncomfortable.
And there's a big difference between you and I. It affects you. Boy, I pour gasoline on the fire.
I think everybody reads that stuff. I think we don't like to respond to it because all we do is just, get deeper and deeper. And communication is a great thing, but even when the things are explained and pointed out and corrected, they still keep going. So that's very frustrating.
This is not a search for the truth. This is just a game.
Yeah.
This is to see how you can stick somebody else. Yeah. That's all. When I first got on Facebook, and I first noticed a group. It was North Iowa Man Stuff or something. It was a place where people put car parts and things like that. And I got on the site and I asked a question like, how do you buy something on this site? And right away, some guy from Mason City got on and said, well, it says so right over here on this page. You think, anybody in life, any idiot could find it, but maybe that's not you, And then 3 or 4 with the same thing. Yeah. What do you mean? Where can I buy things, or how can I buy? How stupid are you? Yeah. I said, I just wanted to buy this thing. That's all I wanted to do.
It's easy to judge people, and it's just
it's but the point is, they weren't judging. They were just being
assuming,
nasty to be for the sake of being nasty. And that's all there is on Facebook. Nobody wants the real truth. Nobody wants reasoning or anything settled. They just want to start a fire over and over. It's some weird, ugly part of people's brains that the Facebook, Twitter, all those places have made it okay for that sort of thing.
There's a lot of things out there. We got a petition.
I blame the Democratic Party.
I don't. But we got a petition last week that was presented to us by a group from Manson that came in towards City Hall that wanted City Council to do something at the mall. Okay, well, we understand there's a problem at the mall. We've been actively working with the Blessing Brothers on the Sears property. We've had people out, and retail coach has been involved, and so we've been working on this, a lot. But we're somewhat restricted because we're not into that. We're not into business development necessarily. We're there to help people, but it's not up to us to create business. It's up to us to make it more conducive in town by high-speed internet and providing, the necessary utilities and, try to make it comfortable for the employees. But are we
getting anything done with the old Sears building?
But I think they're going to demo it from the sounds of it. The city is going to help with some TIF money. The last I heard was that we're awaiting from them more or less a site plan as far as what they're going to do out there. We don't really, want them to progress without letting us at least in on what they want to do. We don't want them just to level it and then just leave it, because that's not going to look any better. But I think if they have some kind of idea, I know there is one retailer that they have kind of on the hook, but that leaves a lot of space out there for future development. And we want to see, what they're going to put out there, their plans more or less. And I think that's where it's at right now. So my dream is to put multifamily housing out there with retail on the bottom, like you see in a lot of the other areas. You'd have more or less a built-in clientele, and you'd have a place for them to shop, eat, and play. So that's my goal.
That's your goal.
I don't know if they'll ever do that or not.
Well, do you know anybody with all the money in the world?
Yeah, I
they
do.
can make an investment like that.
They're in Saudi Arabia, but
they could be in your house.
No. My wife doesn't have any money. But Aldi's
you
is
keep her chained to the stove.
Yeah, Aldi's is open tomorrow. I'm sure
Aldi's, all right.
That's going to be great. They've been working out there. I was by there this morning. There's a lot of people in there today getting ready, and
they really cleaned up that corner.
Great addition.
Really looks good.
Parking lot's going to be good. Landscaping looks great. I'm sure the interior of the building looks great. It'll be a great asset to that area out there. It's just too bad we don't have more things going on in that mall area. But again, time will come, and we are waiting.
Well, you just wonder what's going to happen in retail.
Yeah, you don't know, because it's very easy to go online and click a button, and we don't know. I think the small specialty shops, that are going to be the wave of the future.
I'm sure I'm sure you're right. I just wondered if we're going to have online optometry soon.
No, that we already do. You can go online and get an eye exam. I'm not sure what kind it is, but you can do
You can go online and get an eye exam.
Yeah, they circumvent every state and federal law that there is. Yeah, they do that.
I was going to say.
Yeah, they've been doing that for some time. You actually have little kiosks now where you can go in. I'm not sure how many tumors they pick up or how many diabetics they can watch, but it's kind of a.
How many teeth can you pull?
Well, I'm sure that's coming too. You can get braces online now and all that stuff. So
braces online, really?
Sure. Yeah, just take a picture of your face and send it to somebody, and they create something. Who knows if it's going to work? This is the middle of June. We should be hearing about our build grant very, very quickly. That was the application that was not successful last year that we reapplied for. And I know when they were out in DC, they more or less campaigned for that. And that, you always feel like you're going to be successful with these. And I guess we'll find out within the next few days. Obviously, it's going to be sometime in June is what we were told. They don't give us any indication ahead of time, but the bill grant would help with the intermodal transportation hub, which once the Wakanza Annex comes down, which will be maybe this fall, we'll do the asbestos, maybe next spring, actually tear it down. But once that's done, if the bill grant comes through, then that's going to make the future development of that Warden and the rec center and First South become much closer to reality. So we're looking forward to that. So. In the demo building, I don't know that we're going to demo the building across from the the Warden that we bought. My understanding is the roof fell in on that over the weekend, so that
really?
might save us $1 or $2 on the demo cost. Yeah, it was good timing for us.
I kind of doubt it. They still got to get the equipment down there.
Asbestos, that's the worst thing.
That's right.
So, but other than that, we did.
Do we have anybody in town that removes asbestos?
Yeah,
Lynn Schultz moved to
Lynn's
Des Moines years ago.
Yeah, Impact 7G is the company that's been doing most of it for the city. I don't know where they're from, but they do most of the asbestos work around here. We did approve the work on the Phase 3 on the CSI on the south part of town, 3 additional blocks to Rash Construction. We awarded that for just over $1 million, which was under the estimate of $1.3 million from the engineer. And we also arranged the financing, $26 million, which went through without a discussion point for the water plant, so the reverse osmosis plant. So we got 1.75% interest on that, which was a good deal.
That's a good deal?
Yep, it's a good deal.
All right.
We also we let the contract go for the pond down at Olson Park, so that's moving forward too. Pond will be started.
That's moving right along, isn't it?
Yeah, it's at a snail's pace.
Have you and I been talking about this since we were in our 20s
6
or
years,
not?
Yeah, 7 years. Yeah, slowly the trail work's working down there, and I know Jensen got the bid to do some of the internal trail work around the Van Shell and over towards the old zoo area. But I haven't been down there in the last week or so, but I know the trail system is working and Olson Park is coming along very nice.
Councilman Terry Menke has been our guest. We'll talk soybeans with Dean Coleman in the next hour. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you are listening to AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Doug.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
The first sentence in the college admissions cheating scandal. Lisa Brady, Fox News. A former sailing coach for Stanford University avoids prison. Instead, John Vandemore just sentenced to 2 years of supervised release, including 6 months of home confinement with electronic monitoring.
Prosecutors had called for 13 months behind bars. They argued that probation would simply be a slap on the wrist and that this sentence should be one to send a message. Meanwhile, the defense attorneys had argued that probation would be adequate for this particular defendant. Vandemore, they said, was unlike other coaches in that he didn't pocket a dime. All of the money in this case, they argued, went to that sailing program there at Stanford University.
Fox's Molly Line at federal court in Boston. Vandemore apologizing to friends, family, and the sailing team during sentencing, saying he made a terrible mistake and will never again lose sight of his values. Poland is spending billions on American fighter jets, part of a military agreement announced today at the White House, where Fox's John Decker is live.
During a joint press conference with his Polish counterpart, President Trump announcing that he will send 1,000 more U.S. service members to Poland and that the Polish government will pay for the infrastructure to support the additional troops.
The Polish government will build these projects at no cost to the United States. The Polish government will pay for this.
Polish leaders have lobbied for additional forces for months and had hoped for a permanent U.S. base they said could be called Fort Trump. Lisa?
Meantime, John, the president also expressing hope again for a trade deal with China.
But we're doing very well. And I have a feeling that we're going to make a deal with China because I really don't believe that China wants to continue the problem that they really caused themselves because we had a deal done.
The U.S. has accused China of backing down from planned concessions. Back-to-back losses on Wall Street, the Dow down 43 points at the bell. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring is prime home buying season, so if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock a low rate, which can save you money every month on your new mortgage. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed rate loans. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Tears in a North Carolina courtroom as prosecutors played cell phone video of a murder captured by one of the 3 victims, all college students killed 4 years ago by a gunman who admits he did it.
Greg Hicks tells a judge he's guilty of busting into an apartment in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and shooting 3 University of North Carolina students to death.
I wanted to plead guilty on day 1 and seek a death penalty under the former district attorney who actually went for the death penalty. And here it is 4 years, 4 months, and 2 days later, I'm finally here.
Hicks once said he shot the 3 during a confrontation over parking spaces. The families of the victims insisted he targeted the trio because they were Muslim. Eben Brown, Fox News.
The guilty plea comes 2 months after the incoming DA dropped plans to seek the death penalty, the 50-year-old killer agreeing to accept life in prison without parole. There's word from police in New Canaan, Connecticut, that the search for a mother of 5 missing for nearly 3 weeks now includes a body of water in the town of Avon. This in addition to the ongoing search for evidence at a Hartford trash plant. Suspension and transmission issues lead to a new Ford recall and a second one.
Ford is recalling 1.2 million 2011 to 2017 Explorer SUVs, mainly in North America, over a rear suspension toe link that can break if the suspension moves a lot, which the company says can limit steering control. One crash reported, no injuries. Ford is also recalling over 123,000 2013 F-150 pickups to stop transmissions from unintentionally downshifting into first gear, where a previous software update didn't work. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Recapping the close on Wall Street, the Dow down about 44 points, but still over 26K. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news for the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. The Republican state senator who is challenging Republican Congressman Steve King's bid for re-election is giving up a powerful legislative chairmanship to devote more time to the Northwest Iowa congressional race. OK. Henderson with more on this report.
Republican Randy Feenstra of Hull has been chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee since 2017. In a written statement, Feenstra cited the panel's work since Republicans took control of the Iowa Senate 3 years ago, most notably the 2018 bill that cut state income taxes. Feenstra said he had worked productively with other Republicans in the state house. Feenstra has sought to contrast his legislative record with King's. In January, Republican leaders in the U.S. House removed King from congressional committees to signal the GOP won't tolerate white supremacy. King has said his comments have been taken out of context. He's been lobbying to be reassigned to House committees. Radio Iowa, I'm OK. Henderson.
King faces Feenstra and 2 other Republican challengers in next year's primary in Iowa's 4th Congressional District. Yesterday, CNN and Bloomberg Politics reported that King asked but was not allowed to fly to Iowa with President Trump on Air Force One. Trump, while speaking at an Iowa GOP fundraiser last night, acknowledged several elected officials and party leaders in the audience, but had no mention of King. Study shows Iowa leads the nation in the amount of human and animal waste it produces. Christopher Jones is a scientist at the University of Iowa. His study shows that the state of 3.2 million people and total livestock population of nearly 110 million produces as much manure as a human population of 168 million. His study indicates pigs are responsible for driving the state to the top of the rankings. Jones writes in a blog on the university's website that Iowa is home to at least 23 million pigs. In another study, Jones found that growth of the state's livestock population has led to a doubling of nitrate levels in two western watersheds near the largest concentrations of pigs and cattle. A dairy farm in northwest Iowa is holding an open house today to show off a unique series of robots that keep the operation running smoothly. Scott Schrader is the executive director of the Western Iowa Dairy Alliance and says the farm of John and Sharon Vanderwall near Sioux Center is one of the most technologically advanced in the state.
Rather than seeing a milking parlor, you will see 4 robots in the pen with the cows. The cows can go in up to 7 times each day. They'll walk into the pen with the robot. A gate will shut so no other cows can interrupt the cow being milked. And the milking unit will attach itself to the cow, milk the cow.
Long gone is the 3-legged stool and metal bucket as the robots work quickly to do their job in the pen.
While the cow is in there, they also get some candy treats. That's kind of the incentive that draws the cows into the robot. And then when they are finished in about 7 minutes, the machine will detach and the cows are let out and the next one is ready to come in. Once they've been trained, they come in on their own. You don't ever have to try and force them to go in. They freely are able to go into the robot.
Besides the robotic milking system, Schrader says the Vanderwalls have implemented several other robotic advances.
They also have some robotic pen scrapers, so you can see how they keep the pens clean. And they also have a robotic feed pusher to making sure that when John feeds his cows, that the feed is fresh and it kind of gets rotated, so they always have feed and water.
And Schrader says the Vanderwalls started using the robotic method in 2017. The farm has about 250 cows. It is one of the smaller dairy farms in that area. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has lowered its estimate of this year's corn crop to its lowest in 4 years, saying wet weather has delayed planting, reduced acres planted, and the expected per acre yield. The expected production was cut in the monthly report released yesterday by 1.4 billion bushels to 13.7 billion, the lowest since 2015. While weather problems have also slowed soybean planting, the USDA did not change estimates since farmers have several more weeks to plant. The USDA will release a report on June 28th to provide updated farmer surveys more accurately reflecting the number of acres farmers planted. The USDA report also says disputes with China and other nations have reduced corn exports for the current year crop by 100 million bushels and soybean exports by 75 million bushels. And the son of an Iowa civil rights attorney in the midst of a high-profile civil trial against a former governor has been arrested in the courtroom where his mother's trial is taking place. Polk County Sheriff's records say 50-year-old James Conlon of West Des Moines was arrested during a break in the proceedings on Monday and charged with interference with official acts. He was booked into the county jail and released within an hour. Conlon told courthouse officials he was testing the air after his mother complained it was making her ill. Roxanne Conlon blames construction in the courthouse. Court officials refused her earlier request to move the trial. Conlon and her son did not respond to a message from the Associated Press, but she tells the Des Moines Register she's furious that he was arrested. She's representing former Iowa Workers' Compensation Commissioner Chris Godfrey, his discrimination lawsuit against former Governor Terry Branstad and the state. That's a look at local news this hour. For the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Lots of sunshine outside this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 68. North winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 44. 71 tomorrow, bright sunshine expected. Chance for scattered thunderstorms Friday and Saturday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 69.
As the nation's leader in pork production and pork exports, Iowa's pork producers are doing things right. It's their ethical and moral responsibility. Hog farmers keep their pigs safe and healthy, safeguard natural resources, protect public health, and build strong communities every day. Pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement are roles they take very seriously. Iowa's pork producers, producing safe, affordable food. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
The Webster County pork producers remind you when it comes to protecting their family's health, Iowa's pig farmers are some of the most concerned people around. Safe, affordable, delicious, and nutritious pork can be served for your dinner tonight. Roasted, grilled, stewed, sauteed, stir-fried, broiled, kebabbed, sauced, dipped, sandwiched in your new recipes and your old recipes. Why not buy some pork today and serve it up tonight? This message brought to you by the Webster County pork producers, striving to serve people, pigs, and the planet.
Michael Devine at Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
That's right, 60 rounds of freedom at all time here at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. You can always join the program by calling 515-955-1400. Of course, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter. We're never going to be boring. I welcome to the program once again from Humboldt, Dean Coleman. How are you, Dean?
I'm doing good.
I'm glad that you could come because I did want to talk with you about the soybeans in Iowa. You're more of a soybean guy, even though this part of the program brought to you by the Webster County pork producers. But I do appreciate you coming in because the questions Steve Peters and I, the Farm Bureau, talked about a little bit yesterday. The corn's in, but the soybeans might be lagging. And of course, you're kind of a soybean guy.
Yeah. So
you have yours in, though.
Yeah, we finished up on the 2nd, and then we've been out replanting a few wet spots and places we didn't get planted the first time around that were too wet to go. So most of them are up and emerged and look pretty decent for the conditions that they went into. It was just, we think it was a tough spring around here, but I've got friends that are still scrambling to do anything. I mean, they haven't caught a break all spring. You get it in Illinois and Ohio, Indiana, and those areas. I mean,
the border cities, I know, is kind of rough.
They're just, it's just a train wreck out there. And of course, it was reflected in the report yesterday with, or Monday, I guess it was, the lower acres that are planted and they've lowered the yield a little bit on corn because of the, conditions the crop went into. And so, it's kind of fun listening to Dwayne Murley again this week. Last week, it was not so much fun listening to the prices. They saw the farmers were planting and expected, big crops. But when you're planting corn in June, why, you've lost the best that you're going to get, for the year. And you'll still get good, decent yields, but it's not going to be the kind of yields that, give you above average crops. So
Peterson and I were talking yesterday a little bit about the troubles that are happening in Illinois and Nebraska. Nebraska just got clobbered out there, and other parts of the country who just haven't been able to get a crop in at all. And yet that could, sadly, I guess, ironically, however you want to say it, that could benefit us.
Yeah, I mean, it's for once looks like we're going to be on the receiving end of of the good things, that the good prices and good yields. So there's been years when we didn't fare quite so well, but this looks like one of those years. And of course, that's the tough spot. Do you sell at these prices thinking this is the best it's going to be, or price is going to go higher? And of course, they always say, if you wait too long, why the greedy pig gets slaughtered. So,
it happens.
You just want to sell into this market as it goes up, and hopefully, why you'll have some left when the market hits the top and starts back down. Of course, it's always, they always tell you it's easier to sell on the way up than it is once it's, because it's always an elevator up.
Where's the top? And once you get to the top, it can be a fast slide down.
It's escalator up and elevator down. And
well, if you figure out that top, Dean, you tell me, and we'll make some money. I'll tell you.
Well, I thought the market.
I got some money. I got to invest in the commodity markets right now.
Well, I thought maybe the top was in already because I had a professional guy call me and tell me that he was thinking about buying some corn on the board. And I thought, boy, that's when the doctors, lawyers, and insurance guys get into the market. Why, that's normally when the top is in, and the goodies all gone. But, we turned around now and started back up again. And I think there's still some room to go up yet. We the crop is going to be smaller, and the problem is that that just encourages other countries to plant. So next year in 2020, why we're going to be dealing with the aftermath of higher prices in this country, because the Brazilians may not plant corn or beans. They may just go right to a first crop corn, and so that's what happened when we had the higher prices in 2012 and 2013. We found out just how many acres there were available in the world, and after a year of good prices, why now we've been struggling with break even or even below break even prices at times. So no good deed goes unpunished. So
you farmers, I'll tell you, never good, is it? Well, we're going to have a good year this year, but I think next year could suck. Well,
so,
it could.
You've got the opportunity now to sell crop for next year.
Yeah.
At, fairly decent prices. So, some guys are still sitting on a lot of last year's crop. And so they're dealing with that and thinking about this year's, when they probably should be, spending most of their time on this year and looking forward to next year.
Sure.
And soften that blow, because everybody knows that, it's probably going to be short lived. And so you want to soften that blow as much as you can. And
where do you sell your corn and soybeans?
My soybeans go to New Co-op normally.
Okay.
And my corn I deliver mainly to Cargill.
Do you?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Have you ever bought grain? Like the commodity markets? That's kind of a,
Well, I don't. I sell futures. I mean,
do you?
Yep. Last summer I had 245,000 bushels of corn hedged on the board.
Well, you're big time there, dude.
Well, that's that was some new crop and some old crop, and
sounds like it.
so yeah. I mean, we had the price run up last year, and then everybody got everything planted, and then it was kind of dry, or it was wet, I guess, and then
last year was a terrible year.
Yeah,
this year started out as bad, if not worse.
Yeah. So, I mean, when the prices started down, I decided that was probably the best it was going to get, and so I sold my crop, and of course that's when the president was talking about the tariffs on China, and I knew he normally did what he said, so then I sold my beans on the board, and came out real well on those. So it's it's just like anything. It is. It's management, and when you have a chance to make money, why you want to take advantage of that. So,
well, that's one thing people criticize President Trump about. Previous presidents have known, and President Trump does too, that every word he says is analyzed, and it can affect the stock market or the commodity markets or any market at all. If he comes here and says we're going to put a tariff on Mexican goods, that's big news.
Yep.
I mean, because he will do it. It sounds like, of course, you never know, for God's sake, especially with President Trump. I'm not trying to hammer him, but, I thought this USMCA deal was done last winter, and they kept screwing around. And some of his people, Texas advisors, from what I understand, didn't like it, or some doggone thing. And on and on and on and on. And here we sit now.
Yeah, and of course
now that's like a spaceship came out of nowhere and said, "No, you're not going to do the USMCA."
Yeah, and so Mexico buys a lot of corn from the U.S. and
yes,
and their delivery system is set up to be railed into Mexico. They really don't have deep water ports and ways to bring corn out of South America, which everybody said, well, they'll just thumb their nose at the U.S. and they'll just buy everything from South America. But the problem is that their transportation and infrastructure is just not set up to do that. So they really do need to have it delivered out of the U.S. And I'm glad to see that they were able to get that deal struck, and at least for now, I mean, looks like they're trying to slow down the flood of immigrants coming out of the triangle down
That's
there.
a disaster too. The Congress has got to get off its butt. They want to sit around, and they think that makes President Trump look bad to have all those people down the border. And it is a terrible situation. But just making Trump look bad all the time isn't the solution. If they really cared about those people, we'd get something done. I thought it was instructive that when President Trump started talking tariffs, the automobile companies came out and said, well, this is going to make cars and trucks, light trucks, more expensive in the United States because most of their manufacturing capabilities are in Mexico now. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, they're down there because Bill Clinton made it easier for them to go there 20 years ago with NAFTA. So that's just the way it is, that's just the way it is. But there's so many different parts of our economy and so many competing economic interests out there. It's kind of hard to get through sometime. I was glad to see that we did have President Trump in our state yesterday.
Yep.
As well as, and I know presidential candidates are going to do this, but they all come to Iowa and they talk about things that don't concern Iowa. Former Vice President Biden came here and talked about that terrible situation in Charlottesville, and Senator Gillibrand was talking about abortion. I'm not saying they're not important, but that's not what we talk about in Iowa. We talk dollars and cents in Iowa I think more than other states.
Yeah, and of course, we're thankful that we have, first in the nation status that brings these people out here. But, and of course, the president, he likes to, the rural areas, supported him. And so he's trying to, kind of pat them on the head each time he comes out here and tells us how wonderful us farmers are. But then.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they do, don't they?
And then
you guys are great. And then they leave.
Then they turn around and tweet something that
screws everything up.
It just messes with your market. And you just wonder, is he really serious about, how much he really likes us? Or is he just fishing for our votes and
both. Fishing for our votes. They are all fishing for votes, but Bill de Blasio went down to Gowrie and had his picture taken in an ethanol plant. People tell me there that he was rude and he didn't have any idea what ethanol even was. But there he was getting his picture taken down at Poet Biorefinery.
So, yeah, I mean, they know that's important to, to Iowa, the ethanol and the renewable fuels. And so, Iowa's the top producing ethanol state in the nation, and followed by Nebraska, Minnesota. And so anyway, but California is the top consuming state. Iowa is like number 24 for consumption. Of course, we don't have the number of people.
There's 40 million people out there at least.
So, California's first, Texas is second, Florida's third, New York is fourth. So he should know a little bit about ethanol because they use a lot of it in New York, and then Pennsylvania's next. So, it's good that they have ethanol on their radar, but we just need to do something about the administration granting the small refiner exemptions. That he came out and talked about, the allowing E15, but one exemption to a refiner can undo everything that E15 could do. I mean, you're going from 10% to 15%, and there's a lot more market loss by those small refiner exemptions, and so we have to get that stopped. And if he really loves us as much as he tells us he does, why?
Well, he goes down to Texas, Louisiana, and tells them he loves them too.
Yeah,
and they all do. Every one of them does.
Yeah, so we got 3 million votes here in Iowa, or 3 million people.
3 million people, yeah.
So I don't know if we got 3 million votes or not, but
probably half that many.
You got 8 million people in New York City, so
just in New York City, yeah.
So you got to balance one against the other, I guess. And
let's say the presidential candidates all came to your house, and I think they should. I think they should all go to Dean Coleman's house, and they should come to your house and ask, Dean, what should we do? What would you tell them?
Well, they just need to make renewable fuels part of a more of a mainstay than what they have. I mean, we were going real good there in the 2012-13, and since then, since the president has come into power, why we've started giving these exemptions, and And so that's, tanked.
Has it
that's
been
a-
since the time of Trump that
Yep.
these exemptions started coming around?
Yep, that's when it
Well,
really
I know
started.
he's close to John Cronin down there, who's
Yeah,
senator
so-
from Texas. And
So yeah, I mean, and just we're the soybean folks. They'd like to see the Chinese market open up again, but I know that that they're stealing
it's terrible.
protected
Oh yeah,
rights and stuff like that. And
make no bones about it.
yeah, I was just reading an article the other day. They're talking about a lot of farmers have drones. They can go out and fly over their fields, check.
That's
conditions
big
of the
now,
crops.
isn't it? Yeah.
And the largest producer of drones has has a chip or something in there where they can pick up those pictures and they're taken right to China and they're stored in huge computers over there. And it's not just our crops. I mean, people
These
fly
are
over.
Chinese people with
Yeah.
drones.
Yeah, they're the manufacturers of. They're manufactured in China, so.
That's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
So all of our
They
our
slipped a chip in
secrets-
on us, huh?
Yeah. So anyway, if you're flying over a bridge or a anything that could be construed as national security, why they've got photographs of all that stuff, and so if there was ever to be an attack on the U.S., they would have all of our photographs of all of our major assets over here that we need to protect. So
Well, we are at a distinct disadvantage to China, and they're a one-party state, police state. They don't have to have all these political battles, and they don't have to balance all these competing interests. They just do what they think is best for the country, and a few of their friends, and if you disagree, there's a solution to that too. They kill you.
yeah, I was just watching a little documentary on the TV the other night, and it's 20 years since the Tiananmen Square.
30 years, actually.
30 years, okay. And they were sending reporters over there, and they were going around Tiananmen Square talking to the Chinese, and those people had no idea that it ever happened. It was scrubbed from history, and I believe even they took the reporter into custody.
You better believe they did.
And tried to figure out what was going on and what they were up to, and so it's
You can't even find Tiananmen Square on the internet in China. That's really what George Orwell wrote about all those years. And that is a police state.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, but
it is. We can't let them win. We just what President Trump is doing. Well, it's difficult for practically everybody, but something has to be done. Something has to be done. I don't know. Dean, it's over my head. It's above my pay grade, I do opinion radio, and I can sit here and babble on, but that doesn't mean I'm right. And so I don't. And I've thought about it a lot, just so I can talk about it on the air, and I can't really think of a good solution to where we are.
yeah, it's just difficult to comprehend what goes on in that country over there. I mean, they've got millions of people in concentration camps, and that don't agree with the party line, and we complain about all the protests and stuff here, but we have the right to do that, and I think it makes for a better representative democracy. So
Yeah, we can't let those thugs win that. By the way, Dean, I got a question. Don't you have a hat, man? You are follically challenged as I am. And by God, when I'm going out in the hot sun all day, I put my cap on.
Yeah.
But I see you must have forgot yours in the truck here the other day.
hell, I've got a boonie hat that I wear.
You got a boonie hat?
Yeah.
Where'd you leave it?
On the dash of the
On the
pickup.
All right, Dean Coleman's our guest. We'll be back.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
Okay, it's 3:31, 29 minutes before 4 o'clock. It's our pleasure to have Dean Coleman talking soybeans and farming and trade and everything else. It's our pleasure to have Dean here again. The news is next, and we'll be back with Dean Coleman as Divine Intervention continues at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Sounds like you've got the crud. Cough, fever, sinus pressure, body aches. What should you take? Which over-the-counter medicine is best? You sure don't know, but the people at Daniel Pharmacy do. The pharmacists and technicians at Daniel Pharmacy are ready to help. They drop what they're doing, ask you what you're looking for, go down the aisle with you, and help you find the best medication for your symptoms. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years at 1114 Central Avenue, downtown Fort Dodge.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With us, look at local news for the newsroom. I'm Bob Fisher reporting. The Republican state senator who is challenging Republican Congressman Steve King's bid for re-election is giving up a powerful legislative chairmanship to devote more time to the Northwest Iowa congressional race. OK Henderson with more on this report.
Republican Randy Feenstra of Hull has been chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee since 2017. In a written statement, Feenstra cited the panel's work since Republicans took control of the Iowa Senate 3 years ago, most notably the 2018 bill that cut state income taxes. Feenstra said he had worked productively with other Republicans in the state house. Feenstra has sought to contrast his legislative record with King's. In January, Republican leaders in the U.S. House removed King from congressional committees to signal the GOP won't tolerate white supremacy. King has said his comments have been taken out of context. He's been lobbying to be reassigned to House committees. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
King faces Feenstra and two other Republican challengers in next year's primary in Iowa's 4th Congressional District. Yesterday, CNN and Bloomberg Politics reported that King asked but was not allowed to fly to Iowa with President Trump on Air Force One. Trump, while speaking at an Iowa GOP fundraiser last night, acknowledged several elected officials and party leaders in the audience, but had no mention of King. Study shows Iowa leads the nation in the amount of human and animal waste it produces. Christopher Jones is a scientist at the University of Iowa. His study shows that the state of 3.2 million people and total livestock population of nearly 110 million produces as much manure as a human population of 168 million. His study indicates pigs are responsible for driving the state to the top of the rankings. Jones writes in a blog on the university's website that Iowa is home to at least 23 million pigs. In another study, Jones found that growth of the state's livestock population has led to a doubling of nitrate levels in two western watersheds near the largest concentrations of pigs and cattle. A dairy farm in Northwest Iowa is holding an open house today to show off a unique series of robots that keep the operation running smoothly. Scott Schrader is the executive director of the Western Iowa Dairy Alliance and says the farm of John and Sharon Vanderwall near Sioux Center is one of the most technologically advanced in the state.
Rather than seeing a milking parlor, you will see 4 robots in the pen with the cows. The cows can go in up to 7 times each day. They'll walk into the pen with the robot. A gate will shut so no other cows can interrupt the cow being milked. And the milking unit will attach itself to the cow, milk the cow.
Long gone is the 3-legged stool and metal bucket as the robots work quickly to do their job in the pen.
While the cow is in there, they also get some candy treats. That's kind of the incentive that draws the cows into the robot. And then when they are finished in about 7 minutes, the machine will detach and the cows are let out and the next one is ready to come in. Once they've been trained, they come in on their own. You don't ever have to try and force them to go in. They freely are able to go into the robot.
Besides the robotic milking system, Schrader says the Vanderwalls have implemented several other robotic advances.
They also have some robotic pen scrapers, so you can see how they keep the pens clean. And they also have a robotic feed pusher to making sure that when John feeds his cows, that the feed is fresh and it kind of gets rotated, so they always have feed and water.
And Schrader says the Vanderwalls started using the robotic method in 2017. The farm has about 250 cows. It is one of the smaller dairy farms in that area. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has lowered its estimate of this year's corn crop to its lowest in 4 years, saying wet weather has delayed planting, reduced acres planted, and the expected per acre yield. The expected production was cut in the monthly report released yesterday by 1.4 billion bushels to 13.7 billion, the lowest since 2015. While weather problems have also slowed soybean planting, the USDA did not change estimates since farmers have several more weeks to plant. The USDA will release a report on June 28th to provide updated farmer surveys more accurately reflecting the number of acres farmers planted. The USDA report also says disputes with China and other nations have reduced corn exports for the current year crop by 100 million bushels and soybean exports by 75 million bushels. And the son of an Iowa civil rights attorney in the midst of a high-profile civil trial against a former governor has been arrested in the courtroom where his mother's trial is taking place. Polk County Sheriff's records say 50-year-old James Conlon of West Des Moines was arrested during a break in the proceedings on Monday and charged with interference with official acts. He was booked into the county jail and released within an hour. Conlon told courthouse officials he was testing the air after his mother complained it was making her ill. Roxanne Conlon blames construction in the courthouse. Court officials refused her earlier request to move the trial. Conlon and her son did not respond to a message from the Associated Press, but she tells the Des Moines Register she's furious that he was arrested. She's representing former Iowa Workers' Compensation Commissioner Chris Godfrey, his discrimination lawsuit against former Governor Terry Branstad and the state. That's a look at local news this hour. For the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Lots of sunshine outside this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 68. North winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 44. 71 tomorrow, bright sunshine expected. Chance for scattered thunderstorms Friday and Saturday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 69.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. July corn up 2 1/4 cents at 4.30. September up 2 at 4.38 1/4. December up 1 1/2 at 4.48 1/2. March up 3/4 at 4.56 1/4. July soybeans up 18 3/4 at 8.78. August up 18 1/2 at 8.84 3/4. September up 18 1/2 at 8.91 3/4. November up 18 1/2 at 9.05 1/2. July wheat closed up 8 1/4 cents at 5.26 1/4. Soybean meal up 5.10 a ton at 3.19.50. June live cattle down 102 at 109.65. August down 162 at 105.20. August feeders down 32 at 137.80. September down 60 cents at 138. June lean hogs down a nickel at 79.02, and July closed unchanged at 84.37. From the Alpha Media Farm Desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
The word milk appears on both dairy and non-dairy drinks. The Food and Drug Administration is working to clear up confusion on the differences between the products. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. The federal definition of milk says milk must come from a cow. So how is it that non-dairy products made from plants or nuts like almond milk or soy milk can be called milk? Brianna Schrader with Jansen Ag Law says the court system is addressing these questions as seen in a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals case in January.
Where the court said, actually, no, labeling almond milk as milk would not deceive a reasonable consumer. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. So we're seeing the court system address these questions. And at the same time, we're seeing Washington attempt to address the questions.
But a dairy farmer from Illinois says people don't always know the difference between these products, especially when it comes to the nutritional content. Jenna Kilgus says she talks to a lot of moms about the differences between plant-based drinks and dairy milk.
They want to know that they're feeding their kids safe food. They want to know where that food comes from. And they're so confused when they go to the supermarket and they see cow's milk, they see oat milk, they see, well, even back to cow's milk, they see whole 2% and skim. Consumers just want to have somebody that they can go to and they can trust.
She says it's hard to beat the protein, vitamins, and calcium and other minerals in dairy milk. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
It's 4 a.m. Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Let's be honest, the National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show him you love him. Keep him safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Connect
to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
In today's economy, it just makes sense to plan ahead. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, pre-planning your funeral arrangements can save you money. By planning ahead, you can secure your arrangements at today's prices, no matter when our services are needed. Pre-planning your funeral is one of the most thoughtful things you can do for your family. Call us for details. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm a teacher, a coach, a dad, a husband, and I live with HIV. There was a time in my life when I was scared people would find out about my diagnosis and be scared of me. Then I found out I'm not alone. There are over 3,000 Iowans living with HIV. How we take care of ourselves and how we manage our care are two of the most important ways we can live our best lives. My diagnosis doesn't define or scare me. I'm a person, just like everyone else. And that clarity helps me teach my kids that we're all just people. I have more support than I could ever have imagined, thanks to Ryan White funding through the Iowa Department of Public Health. I qualified for medication and medical care, financial help, transportation, housing, and counseling. And now I'm living with HIV, not dying from it. Why wait? Reach out for testing and care services at stophiviowa.org.
Hot dogs, get your hot dogs.
Baseball and hot dogs, they go together like front porches and rocking chairs. And with Village Hearth Buns, you don't have to go to your local ballpark to enjoy a really good hot dog. Just grill up a package of quality Franks and serve with your favorite toppings on a Village Hearth bun. They're the same delicious buns served at baseball stadiums throughout the Midwest. Village Hearth Buns, baking our best for you.
Is it time for a new roof, or did your roof take a beating from Mother Nature? If so, here's some great advice from Hahn Roofing. When you're trying to decide on a contractor, never tolerate high-pressure sales tactics. Never sign a contract without a price. Never make a payment until your job is done. And never accept a job that is not installed to manufacturer specifications. No warranty, no deal. Make the right choice. Call Hahn Roofing today at 515-573-7440. That's 515-573-7440. Hahn Roofing, an Owens Corning Platinum contractor.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. We're here to tell the truth, make it matter, and never be boring. This is Ozzy Osbourne, and it may seem an unusual combination, Ozzy Osbourne and Dean Coleman, but I don't really think it is. Dean Coleman of Humboldt is here, of Humboldt County. He farms in Humboldt County, I should say, and he has graciously, once again, agreed to appear on our program and talk about the state of our economy here. And sometimes I don't think talking about the economy is boring. Personally, we don't do boring here at all. If I thought talking about how much money we were going to make or not make was boring, I suppose I'd talk about some girl's sex life or some damn thing. I don't know. That's what they talk about on the radio shows. I'm not Howard Stern. Let me put it that way. Howard Stern's always talking about somebody's sex life. Like, that's the most important thing in the world. Well, not to me. What's a sex life anyway, Dean? I forgot. I thought a younger man like you might be able to fill me in, but no. All right. What is the price of soybeans now? We started talking about the price of corn and other things and ethanol there in the last segment, and that's all good, but you're a soybean guy. What's the soybean market look like?
Well, I can't even give you the price of soybeans.
Oh, you are? Oh, is that why you're red in the face? I thought it was just the sunburn, but okay.
Oh, I guess I followed the board price somewhat, but
we just had Dwayne Murley in the market report on here just a minute ago, too.
So beans are up pretty good today. So I guess I marketed most of my soybeans for this next year, so I've kind of quit following. I know next year the board price is like $9.20 or $9.40, so it's getting close to where a person probably should be looking at locking some in for next year. So
sure.
So yeah.
Well, yeah, how would you bet on soybeans for next year? You must have bet pretty good, huh?
Well, I did last year. This year I've done horrible so far, but we just have close to 1 billion bushel of carryover, and we've never had those kind of ending stocks before. I mean, it used to be 250 million was a large carryover, and now we're almost to 1 billion. So if we see a lot of prevented planting in some of these states that grow a lot of beans, why we could see that carryover diminish, and prices might get exciting again. But the way it is right now, why there's really nothing to excite the bean market. It's a tough crop to make a living with here in north central Iowa. Our soils don't grow the high yielding beans that the east and west part of Iowa do, and so.
Do they have better yields over there?
Yeah. I mean, they can get 65, 70 bushel, pretty easy.
Why is that?
Well, we've got, they've got soils that drain a little better. We have iron corrosis, which, iron corrosis in our soil. It's,
Okay.
And so the beans will come up and they can't get the iron out of the soil that they need, and so they turn kind of yellow, and so we just kind of suffer from that. We're getting better varieties. We had fairly decent varieties, and then when Roundup Ready beans were introduced, they took all the easy genetics that were easy to work with and put the Roundup gene in those, and so everything was about yield back then, and so they didn't put any real defensive traits in like we need for our soils, and so we kind of suffered for quite a while. Now we're finally starting to get those varieties that do better in our soils, and so we're slowly starting to increase yields here in north central Iowa. But
a bunch of lawyers out in California are going to screw up Roundup and glyphosate.
Yeah, I mean, I've used Roundup since.
I see you're not dead.
No, and I used to, when it first came out, we used it on a bean bar, which for those people that quit walking beans, you had a bar you either put on a tractor, or they actually had self-propelled ones that you could drive up and down the bean rows, and we'd hire high school kids. And they'd come out and sit on that bar. And as we went over a weed, they'd spray it with Roundup. And that's how I first started using it. Roundup was $70, $80 a gallon back then. And now it's, it's 10 or 12, $15 a gallon now. It's everything's generic now, but
let's go back to the good old days when you hired high school kids like me and gave them a hoe and said, keep walking.
I go out and shag weeds in the summertime, and of course you see those black and yellow spiders that have their web between the rows, and I'll send a picture of it to my sister once in a while, who was never too fond of them, and
I still isn't.
So anyway, but that was provided a lot of employment for young kids back then, but now we don't do that anymore. Now we pretty much just spray chemicals over the top to take care of the corn, the volunteer corn, and the weeds and the soybeans, and we had a little bit of a struggle there for a couple of years with Roundup resistant weeds, but we're using different technologies and going back to some older chemistries that allows us to grow soybeans again. So the weeds, we're always looking for a way around whatever man comes up with to do away with them, and it's
the great jurist Thurgood Thomas said that lawyers are either social architects or they're parasites. We have too many parasites out there, and this is a case where a product who really changed the world, glyphosate, and there is no real connection between glyphosate and cancer. Let's face it.
No, I mean, you think of the millions of farmers that handle it, every year and don't have any health issues. Not saying that, we don't use protective clothing and stuff like that to prevent, coming in direct contact with it. But, I've been handling chemicals since, the early 80s and the sunburn has probably done more damage to me than handling the chemicals. So.
Oh, yeah. Farmers used to get skin cancer every now and then all the time just because they're out.
I was one of those young kids that didn't wear a shirt in the summertime and
didn't make any sense to, did it?
No, it didn't bother me then. And, I talked to somebody that said, well, if I knew if I was going to live this long, I'd have took better care of myself. So maybe I'm in that same group too, but, that
was part of being young. It was good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take off my shirt in the house now if anybody else was there. I don't want anybody to see all that, but back then it was okay.
Yeah.
Dean Coleman's our guest. He's a pretty much a soybean guy from Humboldt County. Where's your farm at, Dean?
I live about 4.5 miles west of Humboldt.
4.5 miles west. Is that where the farm is?
Yep, that's where our main our shop and most of our grain facilities and buildings we store our equipment in is. So,
did you grow up out there?
No, actually, I grew up north of Livermore and married.
North of Livermore?
Yeah, married a Humboldt girl, and her father. Well, my dad farmed, but we did everything with a shovel and a fork, and my bride, her husband or her dad, did stuff with a skid loader, and it just was more appealing to do everything. Sitting on a seat.
A little bit better, wasn't it?
Sitting on a seat versus holding a shovel handle or a fork handle.
Not so labor intensive. Huh?
Yep. So
you could work all day in the sun, but why? You don't have to.
So anyway, I started farming with him, and then he retired, and I took over the operation, and when he passed away, then my younger son came into the operation, and so he and I farm. We each have our own separate farming operations, but we share labor and machinery, so it works out good for everybody.
This is no reflection on you. I've never met your wife, and I'm sure she's a lovely person. But when I would ride in cars with older fellows, sometimes my dad and his friends, they'd see a girl that wasn't the most attractive girl in the world. They'd say, "I bet a half section goes with her." I'm sure that wasn't the case. I almost shouldn't have said that.
No.
I know. I bet
not at all.
Not at all. I believe you. I believe you 150%. 150% on that one. It took me a while to get what those old guys were saying. I got a little older and I understood. But no, that was humor from a long time ago. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We're talking the farm economy. So now that we got the crop in, how's it look?
It's the corn is starting to green up now. We're finally getting some sun and some heat, and it's really starting to add some height to it. The soybeans, most of those are just emerging, or most of them are under 3-4 inches tall. Most of them are just coming out of the ground. So if we continue to get decent weather like this, we'll still make a crop here. So.
I think we're going to make a crop, Dean. We always do, don't we? Yeah. All right. Dean, I want to thank you for coming in as always. You always got a lot to say and a lot of information. Appreciate it.
One thing, Monday I got a call from the Foreign Ag Service, and in March I had applied for a job with Agricultural Policy Advisory Committee, and I was selected. And so now I'll be going to Washington, D.C. a couple times a year and meeting with Secretary Sonny Perdue and Trade Ambassador Lighthouser. So it's going to be.
Look at the big brain on Dean.
Yeah. So I'm kind of proud of that. My wife.
By golly, you should be proud of it. Congratulations.
I kind of told my boys, kind of sheepishly, and my wife says, "Why are you not busting at the seams?"
Oh, heck yes, you're the one that should be doing the car wheels. Hell yes.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, congratulations, Dean. Yeah. Well deserved, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's right. That's what we're doing here, making radio great again. It sucked before I got here, I got to tell you. Father Patrick Boehm is leaving our community. I hate to say this. He's going to Carroll. My God, what did he do wrong to get sent to that hellhole and leave us? but that's what's going to happen. So he'll be in the next hour. If you'd like to say goodbye to Father Patrick Boehm, it's 515-955-1400. We're going to do the news next. Thanks again to Dean Coleman, who's got a big brain, boy. And this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics, Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Hi, I'm Tommy. I'm a farmer, a wife, a mom, a leader in my community, and I live with HIV. My life is just like yours. I get up every day hoping for the best day possible out in field. I feed my soul with hard work and am dedicated to making the most out of every day. I wasn't always so optimistic. But once I found out that I'm just one of over 3,000 Iowans living with HIV, I knew I wasn't alone. I reached out to the Iowa Department of Public Health and found out I qualified for medication and medical care, financial help, transportation, housing, and counseling through Ryan White funding. That was a huge relief to me and my family. I've taken control of my diagnosis and take care of myself so I can live my best life. I'm living with HIV, not dying from it. Why wait? Reach out for testing and care services at StopHIVIowa.org.
This is KVFD in Fort Dodge, Iowa.
A contempt vote on Capitol Hill. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Two of the president's cabinet secretaries are the targets. Fox's Jared Halpern is live on the Hill.
The House Oversight Committee has voted to hold Attorney General William Barr and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross in contempt for the pair's failure to comply with subpoenas related to the decision-making of adding a citizenship question to the 2020 census.
They made no commitments to produce any
of these key documents.
Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings says he questions what the administration is hiding. President Trump has now asserted executive privilege over subpoenaed material. Republicans say the contempt vote was premature ahead of a Supreme Court ruling expected later this month on the citizenship question. Lisa.
Thanks, Jared. Earlier today, President Trump calling the fight over the census ridiculous.
I think when a census goes out, you should find out whether or not, and you have the right to ask whether or not somebody is a citizen of the United States.
Speaking during meetings with the president of Poland, which is agreeing to pay for the projects needed to have 1,000 more U.S. troops there. A former sailing coach becomes the first person sentenced in the college admissions cheating scandal. Fox's Gernal Scott has this live.
Lisa, John Vandermoor was given 1 day in prison for his role in the scandal that saw people buying their kids into top schools. His sentence also requires 2 years supervised release and a $10,000 fine. Vandermoor said he's now following his own coaching philosophy.
It's not the mistake that defines you, rather it's what you do afterwards.
Vandermoor's attorney, Robert Fisher, says his client has a plan.
Typically, you can work while you're in home detention. He wants to work, contribute to society, and get through this.
The scandal has seen school officials and parents, Hollywood stars among them, trying to skirt the admissions process, Lisa.
Thanks, Gernal. On Wall Street, back-to-back losses. The Dow down 44 points on the day, but oil prices dropping below $52 a barrel. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring is prime home buying season, so if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock a low rate, which can save you money every month on your new mortgage. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Democratic Socialism 101 from Senator and presidential hopeful Bernie Sanders giving a speech at George Washington University today, a mixture of students and other voters in the crowd.
Sanders told them he believes economic rights are human rights, and he believes the government should guarantee to every American as much education as they need to succeed, a good job with a living wage, affordable housing, clean environment, and a secure retirement.
That is the difference between Donald Trump and me. He believes in corporate socialism for the rich and powerful. I believe in a democratic socialism that works for the working families.
Sanders says he isn't afraid of attacks from Republicans or even moderates in his own party who aren't ready for a democratic socialist agenda.
Fox Business Network's Hillary Vaughn. Sanders is running second in many early polls behind former Vice President Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination. The chief prosecutor in the Dominican Republic just announcing that a total of 5 people are now detained in the shooting of former Red Sox star David Ortiz.
Initially, Eddie Feliz Garcia was arrested. He's the man subdued and beaten by witnesses to the shooting. He's accused of driving the motorcycle that carried the suspected shooter. In the DR, legally, an accomplice is essentially the same as the person who pulls the trigger, so to speak. Garcia has been charged.
Fox's Jared Max. Prosecutors say the accused shooter, Ralphie Ferreri, is now among those in custody. Ortiz was shot at a bar and remains in intensive care, but has taken his first steps after 2 rounds of surgery. Hockey's champions will be crowned tonight. Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals in Boston between the Bruins and the Blues. St. Louis has never won the Cup, and in their only other trip to the finals, they lost to the Bruins. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With the Slick Local News for the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher reporting. The Republican state senator who is challenging Republican Congressman Steve King's bid for re-election is giving up a powerful legislative chairmanship to devote more time to the Northwest Iowa congressional race. OK. Henderson with more on this report.
Republican Randy Feenstra of Hull has been chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee since 2017. In a written statement, Feenstra cited the panel's work since Republicans took control of the Iowa Senate 3 years ago, most notably the 2018 bill that cut state income taxes. Feenstra said he had worked productively with other Republicans in the state house. Feenstra has sought to contrast his legislative record with King's. In January, Republican leaders in the U.S. House removed King from congressional committees to signal the GOP won't tolerate white supremacy. King has said his comments have been taken out of context. He's been lobbying to be reassigned to House committees. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
King faces Feenstra and two other Republican challengers in next year's primary in Iowa's 4th Congressional District. Yesterday, CNN and Bloomberg Politics reported that King asked but was not allowed to fly to Iowa with President Trump on Air Force One. Trump, while speaking at an Iowa GOP fundraiser last night, acknowledged several elected officials and party leaders in the audience, but had no mention of King. Study shows Iowa leads the nation in the amount of human and animal waste it produces. Christopher Jones is a scientist at the University of Iowa. His study shows that the state of 3.2 million people and total livestock population of nearly 110 million produces as much manure as a human population of 168 million. His study indicates pigs are responsible for driving the state to the top of the rankings. Jones writes in a blog on the university's website that Iowa is home to at least 23 million pigs. In another study, Jones found that growth of the state's livestock population has led to a doubling of nitrate levels in two western watersheds near the largest concentrations of pigs and cattle. A dairy farm in northwest Iowa is holding an open house today to show off a unique series of robots that keep the operation running smoothly. Scott Schrader is the executive director of the Western Iowa Dairy Alliance and says the farm of John and Sharon Vanderwall near Sioux Center is one of the most technologically advanced in the state.
Rather than seeing a milking parlor, you will see 4 robots in the pen with the cows. The cows can go in up to 7 times each day. They'll walk into the pen with the robot. A gate will shut so no other cows can interrupt the cow being milked. And the milking unit will attach itself to the cow, milk the cow.
Long gone is the 3-legged stool and metal bucket as the robots work quickly to do their job in the pen.
While the cow is in there, they also get some candy treats. That's kind of the incentive that draws the cows into the robot. And then when they are finished in about 7 minutes, the machine will detach and the cows are let out and the next one is ready to come in. Once they've been trained, they come in on their own. You don't ever have to try and force them to go in. They freely are able to go into the robot.
Besides the robotic milking system, Schrader says the Vanderwalls have implemented several other robotic advances.
They also have some robotic pen scrapers, so you can see how they keep the pens clean. And they also have a robotic feed pusher to making sure that when John feeds his cows, that the feed is fresh and it kind of gets rotated, so they always have feed and water.
And Schrader says the Vanderwalls started using the robotic method in 2017. The farm has about 250 cows. It is one of the smaller dairy farms in that area. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has lowered its estimate of this year's corn crop to its lowest in 4 years, saying wet weather has delayed planting, reduced acres planted, and the expected per acre yield. The expected production was cut in a monthly report released yesterday by 1.4 billion bushels to 13.7 billion, the lowest since 2015. While weather problems have also slowed soybean planting, the USDA did not change estimates since farmers have several more weeks to plant. The USDA will release a report on June 28th to provide updated farmer surveys more accurately reflecting the number of acres farmers planted. The USDA report also says disputes with China and other nations have reduced corn exports for the current year crop by 100 million bushels and soybean exports by 75 million bushels. And the son of an Iowa civil rights attorney in the midst of a high-profile civil trial against a former governor has been arrested in the courtroom where his mother's trial is taking place. Polk County Sheriff's records say 50-year-old James Conlon of West Des Moines was arrested during a break in the proceedings on Monday and charged with interference with official acts. He was booked into the county jail and released within an hour. Conlon told courthouse officials he was testing the air after his mother complained it was making her ill. Roxanne Conlon blames construction in the courthouse. Court officials refused her earlier request to move the trial. Conlon and her son did not respond to a message from the Associated Press, but she tells the Des Moines Register she's furious that he was arrested. She's representing former Iowa Workers' Compensation Commissioner Chris Godfrey, his discrimination lawsuit against former Governor Terry Branstad and the state. That's a look at local news this hour. For the newsroom, I'm Bob Fisher.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Lots of sunshine outside this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 68. North winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 44. 71 tomorrow, bright sunshine expected. Chance for scattered thunderstorms Friday and Saturday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 70.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Hi, this is Darren. Be sure and join me this Thursday from 5 until 6 as I broadcast live at the first Market on Central of the season. Come down and check out everything they have to offer, most of it made right here in Iowa. I'll see you this Thursday at Market on Central in downtown Fort Dodge.
Managing weeds on Prevent Plant Acres. Hello, everyone. I'm Rhiannon Branch with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Record rainfall and planting delays have forced many farmers across the Midwest to consider taking prevent planting insurance claims. But an Illinois weed scientist says just because fields are lacking crops does not mean weed control can be overlooked. In this Managing for Profit, Aaron Hager with the University of Illinois will walk farmers through the options of managing weeds on Prevent Plant Acres. More after this on Brownfield.
We are the boy band. Your tween made you see. We are the boy band. It's Painful Concert number 3. We are the boy band. We're 5 and 19. We are the boy band. Always singing on key.
You love your kids enough to take them to see their favorite band. Love them enough to make sure they're buckled up in the back seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's that song again. Here's that song again. For the 100th time today. Here's that song again. It's gonna be stuck in your head all day. Here's that song again. It will make you cray cray.
You love your kids enough to watch that TV show a bajillion times. Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat for their age and size. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Aaron Hager with the University of Illinois tells Brownfield it's difficult to think about, but prevent plant claims will be common this year.
Even if we do not get into the fields to plant a crop there, we really shouldn't forget about trying to manage the weeds because they will grow there and they will grow all the rest of the remaining part of the growing season.
Hager tells Brownfield there are several options for weed management.
Tillage certainly can be an effective option to control the vegetation that is in the fields. We just keep in the back of our mind, of course, that tillage is going to be much more effective when weeds are relatively small and soils are somewhat good for that tillage operation.
He says mowing can also be a part of a weed management plan.
It's not likely by itself to keep all weeds from producing seed by the end of the year. We certainly encourage farmers to adjust either the shredder, the sickle bar mower, whatever type of mower they had to cut as close as possible.
Multiple herbicide applications are also an option.
Really, the focus of the herbicide programs now should really be on the semi-annual species. They're going to continue to thrive throughout a good part of the growing season. We could do something like a non-residual herbicide. It could be something as simple as glyphosate 2,4-D, glyphosate dicamba to control the existing vegetation in the field. But again, we're probably going to have to repeat that throughout the growing season.
And Hager tells Brownfield that cover crops have many advantages in a prevent plant scenario.
Number one, we do have a crop that's growing in the field, so we're not allowing that field necessarily to lie fallow for the entire growing season. Another advantage, of course, of cover crop, if we've already had an anhydrous or urea application on fields, could scavenge some of the nitrates for us.
He says staying on top of weed management will save farmers money in the long run.
Certainly, the end goal should be no weed seeds produced by the end of the year, because, any weed seeds that are produced this year are going to contribute to farmers' costs of managing these weeds into the future. And many times, if you do this over enough years with a sufficient supply of seed added to the seed bank, the cost of future weed control could be far in excess what any additional cost would be to try to manage the weeds this year on the prevent plant acres. We're facing a lot of challenges with many of our weed populations and the continued evolution of resistance, and allowing these resistant plants to produce an abundant amount of seed by the end of the 2019 growing season only promises that we're going to continue to have some very, very difficult challenges for us into the foreseeable future.
That was Aaron Hager with the University of Illinois. I'm Rhiannon Branch with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
Even in my own home, I had my own designated space to smoke. If I think about it, it really was like I was punishing myself. A friend of mine said, why wouldn't you just try the Juul? And so I went out and I bought one. The idea of going back to smoking, I couldn't even imagine doing that. I don't think anyone, including myself, thought that I could switch.
Carolyn made the switch October 2016. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
This message is for you.
The secret texter driver.
Sure, I can eat cereal while driving, driver.
Ooh, let me check my lipstick, but not my blind spot driver.
Too often, other motorists don't see or watch for motorcycles, causing deadly crashes. So remember to always stay focused on driving and to use your turn signals, extra caution when making a left-hand turn, and to double-check blind spots. This message to safely share the road with motorcycles is brought to you by the Iowa Department of Public Safety, Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
That's right, we have 60 rounds of freedom. It's 4:18, 18 minutes after 4 o'clock. Father Patrick Bain will be here. This will be his swan song on this radio station. He's moving away to that hellhole in Carroll for whatever reason. I guess he's pledged fidelity to the bishop or something. Sunny today, high 70. Overnight clear with a low of 44. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 71. Friday, sunny with a high of 77. Saturday, chance of rain with a high of 80. Sunday, it'll be sunny with a high of 77. Happy Father's Day. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge.
From the Fox Business Network, oil prices are cheaper after crude stockpiles rose last week. The Energy Information Administration says crude inventories rose by 2.2 million barrels in the last week. Analysts were expecting a decline. There's a sign that consumers are not dealing with inflation. The Consumer Price Index rose just 0.1% in May over the past year. Prices rose 1.8%, considered tame and slightly weaker than forecast. Home prices are still going up, but maybe not at the pace we've been seeing. Ratings company Fitch says national home prices rose about 3% at the start of the year, compared with 4% in the first quarter of last year. Both Los Angeles and Las Vegas are seeing slower increases, though Fitch says Las Vegas remains the most overvalued housing market in the United States. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
You don't want to mess with the IRS. They have the power to garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. That's all true. But thankfully, they're offering a way out. The Fresh Start Initiative. If you qualify, you could save thousands. The experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best possible tax settlement, and they have an A+ rating with the BBB. Call Optima for your free consultation.
Call 800-410-6744. 800-410-6744.
Optima Tax Relief. Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We are going to tell the truth, make it matter. We're never going to be boring. This is a little Ozzy Osbourne music.
I don't know what Ozzy and Father Patrick Bame have in common, but I think we're about to find out here. So what do you think, Father Bame? Ozzy Osbourne, what do you think?
I think we're both human.
I think we're human. That's good. That's an answer I don't understand, sir.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything personally against Ozzy.
He eats bats, I hear.
That's odd.
That is an odd. That's not my choice of diet.
I mean, the only one of his songs that I'm even remotely familiar with is "Crazy Train."
Crazy Train.
But other than that,
Oh, you all right?
Sorry, I was going to sneeze.
All right.
Other than that, I just don't know much about the man, to be real honest with you. I don't think his
serious
music is
alcohol and drug problems that he overcame.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But, it did damage his brain, obviously.
I'll bet.
Yeah. He was way out there in his youth.
Sure.
When you're young, you feel indestructible.
That's right.
You're about the time of life when you know that you're not now, are you?
Well, getting there. I mean, I don't know. Fortunately, knock on wood, but I've had pretty good track record health wise. Haven't had any major health issues.
You've been in here looking pretty tired on a couple of
there are times, but that's all right. We just
now you're moving to this
fight
hellhole
through
that is
it.
Carroll, Iowa. The diocese is taking away our priest here and sending him to the dystopian nightmare that is Carroll. We need him here. We need him here.
Oh, you guys will survive. I'm pretty sure. The guy that's taking my place, he and I are just trading places. Actually, he's in Carroll now, and I'm here, and I'm going there, and he's coming here. And I think people in Fort Dodge will really like him. Father Brian Feller is a good man. He's a good priest.
Fellers or fellows? I'm sorry.
Feller, Feller, like Bob Feller.
All right.
But not related, as far as I know.
Right. Okay.
But he's a good man. He's a good priest. He's younger than me.
You guys get younger to me all the time, man.
Well, hey, that's good. But no, I think he's about 33, 34. He and I studied Spanish together in Mexico for one summer. And so and even before then, I knew Father Feller. He wasn't Father Feller at the time. I wasn't Father Patrick or Father Bame at the time yet either. But regardless, we knew each other then. We were in seminary together. He's a smart young man. He's from Sibley originally.
Ah, sure.
And I think the people will really like him. I think they'll get along really well with him. He's energetic. He's very fun loving. He's just a good down to earth man.
Well, we liked Father Lona before you.
Yes.
And
yes.
You're a hard act to follow, but I'm sure that we'll like Father Feller.
No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind.
I look forward to meeting him, and maybe we can convince him to take your spot on the radio.
There you go. Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see.
You never know. You never know.
He's not here yet, though.
No, not yet. I don't know what he'll have on his schedule once he gets here and how busy he'll be, but who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. You're right. Maybe he will want to and be good at it. Maybe he won't. There's a whatever happens.
That's right. It's a myriad of things going on. But in any event, no, we're getting down to the wire here.
When are you leaving town?
I'm going to probably move probably July 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, so probably July 1.
All right. Well, that's not a date we look forward to, but again, it's been terrific having you here, and I hope we can keep in touch.
Well, thank you. I hope so too.
Yeah. Let's go through your life here again briefly. You mentioned knowing Father Feller a long time ago before either of you were priests. Where did you get an undergraduate degree?
Well, I started out at the University of Nebraska, and that was kind of where I first started.
In Omaha or
in Lincoln?
Lincoln. Okay.
Lincoln. That was where I first kind of started to discern the possibility of being called to the priesthood. That was in the year 2000, and so I was there for 2 years, and eventually I decided to transfer when I had the sense that I need to give this a little more serious thought, and the out-of-state tuition was starting to be a pain in my rear. And so I took a year off, took a semester. Well, actually, basically a year off. And I worked full-time for a semester in Storm Lake at one of the packing plants in town there. And then I went and I interned for Senator Chuck Grassley in Washington. So I was on his Washington staff, and that was a wonderful experience. Then after that, I finally said, okay, you know what? I need to give this whole seminary thing a shot. And so in 2004, I entered seminary at the University of St. Thomas, which the name of the place was St. John Vianney. And that's where I got my undergrad from, was St. Thomas. Graduated from there in 2006.
You came here at a time where Webster County, the Catholic community in Webster County, is still going through enormous change.
Absolutely.
And coping with that change.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of resentment, I know.
Yeah.
We used to have 8 Catholic churches in Fort Dodge.